As the excruciating waves of labor pains gripped her, she clung to the hope of her husband's support. But when he callously uttered, "Get out! You will make a mess in the car," her heart shattered. Abandoned on the roadside in the throes of childbirth, her world shattered. Now, left alone with her pain and betrayal, she must summon every ounce of strength to face the daunting journey ahead. I'm Aura, and I'm 9 months pregnant for the first time. Although I'm anxious, I feel incredibly fortunate to welcome a new addition to our family. My husband, Nathan, works in an office and has weekends free. However, he isn't much help with chores or shopping, as he often visits his parents' house on weekends. He shares a close bond with them, so he spends most weekends there. Since I've been pregnant, I've been careful not to lift heavy things. Sometimes, when I need to buy heavy items like rice, my supportive friends lend a hand. My day usually starts early, making breakfast for Nathan before he heads to work. Then it's cleaning, laundry, and errands. Once back home, I start preparing dinner before finally getting some well-deserved rest. Ever since I began my maternity leave, I've picked up a new hobby: blogging. Each day, I write a diary with photos I take, like meals, the clear blue sky, or flowers blooming in the garden. Many friends and acquaintances leave comments, making these journaling moments daily joys for me. But once I'm back home, things change. While I'm preparing dinner, my husband comes home. As usual, he carelessly throws his bag and jacket on the sofa. I tidy up, hanging them on a coat hanger. "Welcome back. I made hamburgers for dinner," I say. He responds curtly and heads straight for the bathroom. It's been 3 years since we got married. There's been little kindness or consideration from him. Sometimes I wonder if this is how marriage should be, but I've accepted it. Later, when Nathan returns in his pajamas, I offer him a drink. "Where's the beer?" he asks, looking at the glass I gave him. "Sorry, I forgot to buy it today. I'll get some tomorrow," I say. His demeanor changes immediately. "What? Seriously? Go to the convenience store now," he says angrily. I was irritated. Why was he asking his pregnant wife to do this? If you want it so badly, why don't you go get it yourself? It's hard for me to move around with this big belly. At the time, he became even angrier and started shouting, "You're the one who forgot to buy it. It's your job to fix that mistake. And just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you get special treatment." My mother always said it's important to keep moving for the sake of health, knowing that he doesn't calm down easily when he's angry. I reluctantly decided to go to the convenience store. Once I arrived, I bumped into Sarah, a neighbor. "Oh, Sarah. Good evening, Aura." "Good evening. Did you forget to buy something too?" "I ran out of soy sauce, so I came here." Sarah's cheerful voice slightly lifted my spirits. "My husband really wanted beer and he told me to buy it. Why didn't he just go himself?" That's what I said, but it didn't get through to him. "It sounds like you're having a tough team, Aura." After walking together for a bit, Sarah and I parted ways at a crossroad. When I returned home, Nathan was lounging on the sofa watching TV, having not even cleaned up after dinner. "Why did it take you so long? What were you dawdling around for? Give me the beer." Nathan's disgruntled voice and his insensitive remarks made my heart achy. However, I handed him the beer without a word and began cleaning up after the meal. How could he say such things to me, especially when I'm pregnant? I felt the urge to retort, but I didn't want another shouting match. So I remained silent. Afterwards, I had my dinner, took a relaxing bath, and headed to the bedroom. The next morning, Nathan acted as if nothing had happened. It seems he's the type to forget everything after a good night's sleep. However, I couldn't forget his words from the previous night, and I consciously ignored him. "Why are you making that face so early in the morning? Don't take it out on me. I'm heading to work now, so be a bit considerate." You know the importance of appreciation, right? Do what he said. I was filled with the urge to retort, "That applies to you, doesn't it?" But out of shock and disbelief, all I could do was sigh deeply and see him off. Be careful, right? I don't need dinner tonight. See you? Without any explanation, Nathan left in a hurry. After seeing him off, I took care of household chores and went shopping as usual. However, since Nathan mentioned he wouldn't be having dinner, I decided to prepare something simple just for myself. Then, as I was about to start my meal alone in the evening, I heard Nathan's unexpected return and rushed to the entrance. "I'm back. Thanks for your hard work. But you said you didn't need dinner today, right?" "Yeah, but my drinking party got cancelled. I'm hungry. You have something to eat, right?" "Well, I only prepared a meal for myself today." Upon hearing this, Nathan's face contorted with anger. "Didn't you even consider the possibility I might come back? This is unbelievable." Saying that, he moved to the dining table, and upon seeing the dinner I prepared, his mood worsened. "Why don't you call this a meal? I seriously question if you're properly doing your duties as a housewife. Don't waste the money I earn working. I quickly prepared something for myself today. Please, don't get mad like this. Maybe you should learn proper cooking from my mum. Honestly, I've always found your cooking lacking. Again, he always compares me to his mother. Doesn't he realize how hurtful these comparisons can be? But I can't eat this. Go buy something." Hearing this, my heart sinks further. What does he think of me? It's already night, and I've taken a bath. Can you go buy it yourself? Forget it. You forgot to buy beer yesterday. Didn't prepare dinner today. It's so frustrating. I'm going back to my parents' place. Nathan stormed out, left alone in the house. I strangely felt a sense of relief. The next morning, as I expected, I received an angry call from Nathan's mother. "How can you not serve Nathan a proper meal?" This feels like moral harassment, if not worse. I explained what happened yesterday, but she wasn't accepting it, so I just apologized and ended the call. After the call, my mood plummeted. Since Nathan wasn't home, I decided to have a leisurely late brunch. However, the thought of Nathan coming back tonight weighed on my mind. Considering yesterday's events, I decided to make tonight's dinner special. I shopped with more care than usual, picking out ingredients and adding Nathan's favorite beer to the cart. I was determined to prepare a dinner that would earn Nathan's praise. I shortened my blow-updated time a bit to allocate more time to cooking. After dedicating ample time to preparations, the table was set beautifully as if it was a special occasion. Looking at it, I felt a sense of accomplishment and couldn't help but praise myself. With this, he should definitely be satisfied. I waited patiently in the dining room for Nathan to come home, but as time passed, there was no sign of him. I tried contacting him several times via my smartphone, but there was no response and I began to get anxious. Did he possibly go to his parents' house? Thinking this, I called Nathan's parents to check, but they said he hadn't come there either. I tried calling Nathan multiple times, but still there was no response. As midnight approached, just when I was considering contacting the police, a staggering Nathan returned home. He seemed clearly drunk. But I'm home. Hiccup. I rushed to the entrance in concern and found Nathan lying on the hallway floor. What happened? Are you okay? Hearing my voice, he responded angrily, too loud. He then staggered towards the dining room. When I tried to support him, he forcefully shook off my hand. Don't touch me. Don't come near me with that ugly face. To think you're my wife? In his drunken state, he spat out those words and then just lay down right there. Those words were beyond shocking. Why can't he consider others' feelings? His remarks hurt me deeply, and I was filled with thoughts of Maybe he no longer sees me as family. Tears welled up in my eyes. I put so much effort into cooking. It was all for nothing. With that thought, I had my dinner alone and enveloped in loneliness the next morning. Nathan woke up as if nothing had happened. My head hurts. I guess I drank too much. But why did you leave me in the hallway? You chose to lie down there, Nathan. It's not my fault. Aren't you my wife? At least take care of me when I'm drunk. Nathan's words made me wonder why he always blames me right away. If you weren't going to eat at home, you could have at least let me know. I had prepared a nice meal, and I called you multiple times. Why didn't you answer? Then Dave had replied nonchalantly, "My drinking party from the day before got rescheduled to yesterday. Do I have to report everything? Besides, you know how hard it is to pick up the phone during a gathering. Think about my situation." With every word Nathan said, my heart got colder and my expectations of him diminished. That way, I won't feel hurt or disappointed anymore. This thought lingered in my mind. But I'm taking a break and going back to my parents' home tomorrow. Being with you lately feels unpleasant and boring. Seeing Nathan's attitude of looking down on me made me increasingly consider the option of divorce. Our baby is due soon. My heart races in anticipation, even though I've heard stories about the pains of labor from friends. My excitement to meet the new life inside me overshadows those concerns. The neighbors often encourage me with words like, "It's just a little while longer," which brightens my mood. Hey, want to go on a family trip? Soon after Nathan returned home, he made a surprising suggestion. Really? But I'm talking about a family trip. My mom and dad want to join. I was taken aback. Why would his parents make such a proposal? Tensions exist between me and Nathan's parents. Whenever there's an issue concerning Nathan, they tend to blame me, like the previous phone call incident. However, the sudden idea of a trip left me doubtful. But I'm about to give birth soon, and traveling a long distance might be a bit risky. How many times do I have to tell you? Just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you're sick. My parents are thoughtfully inviting us. But what if something happens? It'll be fine. Everything's already decided. We'll go for 2 nights and 3 days next week. What? Next week is my due date. That's a bit. Just do as you're told. Prepare for the trip next week. End of discussion. Nathan just expressed his opinion and then left the room. I'm in trouble now, I thought to myself. The next day I sought advice from a close friend and explained the situation. She was concerned and said, "That's a bit too much." While I was contemplating how to decline the offer, the day of the trip suddenly arrived. Actually, I'm not feeling well today. I'm worried about the baby, so I'm going to rest at home. I tried to use that as an excuse, but Nathan didn't seem convinced. Anyway, you can just rest in the car and you'll be fine, right? Come on, bring the luggage. We're heading to my parents' house, so hurry up. As we headed to the car, I was worried and asking, "Is this really okay?" After loading our luggage into the car and sitting in the passenger seat, I felt warmth at my feet. Looking down, I noticed water spreading around them. Oh my, water broke. I immediately informed Nathan. "Nathan, I think my water just broke. Please take me to the hospital quickly." Taken aback by the situation, Nathan exclaimed, "Are you serious?" "Yes, I'm serious. We need to go to the hospital now. The baby might be coming." While trying to clean up the water with a towel in the car, Nathan suddenly opened the passenger door. "Nathan, what are you doing? We need to go to the hospital." "Get out! You're going to make a mess in the car." I was in complete shock. "What are you saying?" I said, "Get out. I need to clean the car." Then Nathan forcibly pulled me out of the car. In this unbelievable situation, Nathan said, "I can't believe this. We were supposed to be on a family trip. Just go to the hospital by yourself." I was too shocked to say anything, as I called out to Nathan, "Wait, how can you leave me here like this?" He drove away, leaving me behind. Feeling overwhelmed, I quickly dialed for an ambulance when someone approached, asking, "Aura, are you okay?" It was Sarah, looking concerned. Sarah immediately recognized my predicament and arranged for a special taxi, comforting me throughout. Grateful for her kindness, tears streamed down my face. Soon after, I safely arrived at the hospital thanks to Sarah's help. On the way, she held my hand and cheered me up, and she stayed by my side until I was taken to my room. While being transferred, I made a silent vow. I will make him pay for this. Even as labor pains grew, Sarah kept holding my hand. Furthermore, she contacted my parents, who soon arrived at the hospital and looked deeply concerned. Sarah whispered to them, "There's something I want to discuss." The three then left the room. As the labor pains intensified, my smartphone vibrated from a corner of the room. "Who is it?" I asked, and my parents responded with Nathan's name. They looked displeased, but I took the call anyway. As soon as I answered, I heard a panicky, "Nathan, help me." However, I was in no state or mood to converse with him and promptly ended the call. Despite my parents turning off my phone, Dave had continued to send messages. As labor intensified, I was finally moved to the delivery room. After enduring the pain for some time, I finally heard my baby's cries. Exhausted, I saw my parents and Sarah standing before me with warm smiles. Relieved, I closed my eyes and rested. When I woke up after a few hours of sleep, I found myself lying in the hospital bed. Rubbing my eyes, I noticed my parents sitting next to me and their faces filled with concern. "Are you okay?" my mother asked gently. Still feeling the weight of exhaustion, I couldn't muster the energy to sit up. While my father looked teary-eyed, my mother converted him, saying, "The postpartum period can be exhausting." Witnessing this heartwarming scene, a smile formed on my face. "How's the baby?" I inquired. My parents informed me that the baby was undergoing some tests, but would be back in the room soon. However, I noticed Sarah wasn't present, responding to my unspoken question. My mother remarked, "Sarah left a little while ago, thinking about how things might have turned out had Sarah not been there." A feeling of unease settled over me. I made a promise with my parents that after being discharged, I would visit Sarah to express my gratitude, turning on my smartphone to inform my friends about the birth. I was met with an overwhelming number of missed calls, mostly from Nathan. The sheer number left me momentarily stunned, but I felt no hope or expectation from his calls, so I closed the notifications without hesitation. One of my friends visited the hospital room to congratulate me on the birth as she rejoiced and extended her genuine wishes. I opened up about the recent incidents with Nathan. After hearing the story, she expressed both shock and anger, half-jokingly saying she'd like to punish him a bit. But she also emphasized that my health and rest were paramount, chatted with me for a while, and then left. My parents, already briefed by Sarah about the whole episode, asked, "What are you planning to do next?" I shared my thoughts about my relationship with Nathan and told them I'm considering divorce. They respected my decision and provided their support. Upon my discharge, I planned to stay at my parents' house. They prepared a room for me there. Meanwhile, Nathan seemed to have visited the hospital, but as I had informed the hospital staff that I didn't wish to see him, he wasn't allowed in. The next day, Sarah came to my hospital room holding a fruit basket. "Sarah, you came seeing her face," I exclaimed with delight. "You seem to be recovering well, but remember not to overexert yourself." Postpartum fatigue can be quite being comforted by Sarah's words. I sighed with relief. Taking the fruit basket from her, I expressed my deep gratitude. "Sarah, thank you so much for helping me. I don't know what would have happened if you weren't there." As I bowed deeply, Sarah gently laughed. "What's most important is that both you and the baby are healthy. What's most important is that both you and the baby are healthy. I just want a small hand. Nonetheless, I'm eternally grateful. Once everything settles, I'll make sure to swing by and express my gratitude properly." Sarah chuckled warmly in response. "You know, I've filled in my husband about the situation. He seemed pretty riled up. From what she said, I could somewhat piece together Nathan's predicament. Sarah, I deeply apologize for involving you in this turmoil. But fret not. Remember who paved the way for you to join your current workplace. This incident is undeniably difficult to let go." In that instant, I detected a firmness in Sarah's tone, a departure from her usual warmth. Surprisingly, Sarah happened to be the spousey of the CEO at my husband's workplace. When we initially relocated to this neighborhood, I was oblivious to this fact. However, as our paths crossed frequently at the nearby grocery store shops and occasionally at convenience marts, we gradually grew closer. We even developed a habit of dining together, and through these gatherings, I gained insights into her husband's profession. Meanwhile, my husband remained oblivious to all of this. He hadn't even joined me for our initial meetings with the neighbors, preferring to keep to himself. Sarah had gently advised me before, saying, "I don't want to stir up any trouble, so please don't mention this to your husband." And I respected her wishes. Despite being pregnant and enduring my husband's unreasonable behavior, Sarah had hinted multiple times, asking, "Should I talk to your husband?" Yet I always refused, not wanting to inconvenience her. But with this latest incident, it seemed even Sarah had reached her breaking point. That's why my husband's calls persisted. "Sarah, I can't thank you enough for everything," I expressed gratefully. Her words resonated deeply, reminding me of how fortunate I was to have such a caring friend. Tears welled up in my eyes. Sensing my emotion, Sarah offered another warm smile. "Aura, you mean the world to me. I can't just sit back and watch when a friend is in need. Despite my age, I'm not backing down." Our talk was warm and sincere, but the flood of messages from my husband kept coming. Even though my phone was blowing up with notifications, I deliberately chose to ignore them. Contemplating divorce brought clarity to my mind. All I cared about was figuring out how to navigate life with my baby. As I geared up to leave the hospital, a dear friend stopped by, handing me her phone with a determined look. "Take a look at this," she said, showing me a post that had stirred up quite the buzz on social media. Curious, I asked her what it was all about. It turns out she had shared some of my husband's recent antics online. With her massive social media following, her posts carried weight. Then, something unexpected happened. A follower responded to one of her posts with a video snippet they happened to capture. The moment my husband lashed out at me as I stepped out of the car, to safeguard my privacy, they blurred my face before sharing it online, with my friend's blessing. As a result, personal details about my husband and even his company were identified. Currently, my husband seems to be under a barrage of criticism online. What? I had no idea it had escalated to this level. My friend, smiling gently, remarked, "Well, they brought it upon themselves, didn't they? My husband's actions and their consequences were all a result of choices he made." Furthermore, when one of my husband's friends confronted him about the incident, he reportedly excused himself, saying, "I had a prior travel commitment with my parents that day, so I had no choice." Because of this statement, not only my husband, but also his parents began to face criticism online. The story spread even in the vicinity of my in-laws' home, and there seemed to be various topics related to my husband's parents circulating on social media. Suddenly, my phone started ringing. When I checked the screen, it was a call from my mother-in-law. It's from my mother-in-law. The talk of the town, huh? My friend, eyeing the screen of my phone with interest, suggested, "Why don't you pick up and give her a piece of your mind?" However, I was so fed up that I felt no urge to do so and decided to ignore it. Before I knew it, the missed calls log was father-in-law and mother-in-law. Ever since the incident was highlighted on social media, even the hospital staff seemed to be aware of my situation and started offering genuine support. Whether my husband or in-laws came to the hospital or called multiple times, the hospital staff didn't allow any contact. As my discharge date approached, I had one pressing worry: whether my husband and in-laws might be lurking outside the hospital. My parents reassured me, saying, "You have nothing to worry about." But the thought of my precious baby being in danger left me anxious. However, that concern was quickly dispelled. On the day of my discharge, as my parents were helping me with my belongings, I heard my husband's voice shouting, "Aura," followed by the loud voices of my in-laws. Suddenly, men in black suits surrounded me, forming a protective barrier. As I tried to understand what was happening, one of the men in black suits approached me, gently opening the car door and said, "Don't worry, we're here on Sir's request to protect you." It seemed my parents were already aware of this, as my mum said, smiling, "Didn't I assure you that everything would be fine?" Trusting her words, I relaxed and slid into the car effortlessly. Meanwhile, my husband and in-laws, intimidated by the presence of the bodyguards, kept their distance. Words fail me to convey the depth of my gratitude towards Sarah for standing by me like this. My mind was consumed with thoughts of how to repay Sarah's kindness. My parents echoed the same sentiments, agreeing that we must find a way to show our appreciation to Sarah. Despite the smooth start to my new life and the continuation of pleasant days, the communication from my husband and in-laws persisted. I sent them the divorce papers by mail, yet there was no indication of acceptance. Then, one day, my in-laws rang our home. It appears my father answered, and they reportedly addressed him with the sentiment that since I had become part of their family, I shouldn't complain, regardless of how I'm treated. When my dad snapped back in anger to their words, they seemed taken aback and promptly hung up. As we talked over what to do next with my folks, I figured getting professional help was the way to go and opted to reach out to a lawyer. Lucky for us, my dad knew a lawyer. After laying out our situation, he generously agreed to lend a hand. I confronted my spouse about the viral video making rounds on social media and recounted previous incidents. Initially startled by the lawyer's intervention, my husband's demeanor shifted to defiance. "We can handle our marital issues independently. No need for legal counsel," he retorted, his voice flustered. Yet, the lawyer responded calmly, stating, "I'm acting on Aura's behalf. Any further communication should be addressed to me."